with the roll call
President Ronnie House,
here.
Vice President Cox, here, Dr. Schroeder. Mac
Here.
and Bergen. Absent.
Reading of the district mission vision statement by, do one of you want to read it?
I'll take it. Our mission to challenge all students to achieve their full potential through engaging, responsive educational experiences that inspire innovation, critical thinking and collaboration. Our vision to develop learners who are competent, passionate problem solvers. Our operating principles, information for one is information for all. No surprises, verify facts, think ahead, disagree, explain your thinking, and then commit.
Okay, at this time, are there any additions or corrections to the?
Yes, late fee, zero, does not want to resign anymore. But Sarah Larson, the middle school special ed, resigned. And then we also did an add-on with Catherine White as homeschool assistant teacher, but part-time.
Okay, all right.
Is there a change in salary then?
So the salary for that one is $22,289.
Okay.
And Catherine White is a homeschool assistant, has a conditional license from the State Department, so she can take this position and over the next year, take the additional course she needs. Her license expired and she's willing to go back and get it. And she's willing to work part-time. With Sarah Larson, on the other hand, it's a middle school special education teacher. She did not sign her current contracts and is requesting to be released for personal reasons. And although it's past June 30th without her signature, and considering her reasons, I would recommend that we accept that resignation. It has to be with board approval at this late stage of the game. Those are the only additions I have.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Next is the approval of the minutes of the June 29th special meeting and the June 26th regular meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the board minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. 3-0. Are there any visitors for public comment? You're not here to check. Okay, I'm gonna skip that part then. Finance committee. Josh,
We met,
We met, you're in person.
I know, I'm trying to remember, oh, we talked about, sorry, thank you, we talked about, step pay, changing that, we're gonna talk about that later, I think, and then, talk about half day pay too, fix that one. One other thing,
Consolidated.
consolidation of accounts. I think.
That is done.
Yeah, oh, great, I'm excited to see the tree be like just like one branch.
Yes, so the checks are ordered, the deposit slips are ordered, and that can send the bank, changing the name, so
Good deal.
we're on a roll. So,
Look at that.
and then this week we'll talk to Top Run Amendment to get it straightened out in our top line. Thanks.
okay, and we also had a policy meeting and those will be talked about later at the meeting, I believe. At the next board meeting, with the second reading of these policies, we will be caught up, correct?
We will be caught up with last year and for all missing policies from 21 and 22. And then we'll begin the cyclical review and revision of each series. Each series, as you know, has to be fully reviewed once every 3 years. Some of those are past due, so we'll choose a series to address at a time or even a half a series with the new quarterly updates as they come out. So we'll have our regular meetings in Cali as SBO with oversight for policy, as is typically the case. She will, and I will tag team that and get those rolled in each month.
I just want to thank that on this committee reports, there's blocks a lot in parentheses, but there's no blocks as the chairperson of any of these committees. How'd you get out of that, Catherine?
That was not mine.
Oh, okay.
I'm oversight. I just make sure that your reports are accurate. My name looks good in red, please.
It's little.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that was good. That was good. Okay, thank you.
Superintendent report, Ann?
What's going well? In the summer, as you know, my reports are a little bit smaller because I don't have all the wonderful accomplishments of our fine students and staff. But I am happy to tell you that our new school leaders are all on deck as of today. We're ready to launch another year of learning for our students and staff. I will be spending a few half-day sessions along with several one-on-one conversations with all of the new school leaders to fully position the school and building leadership teams for the systemic improvement efforts in the implementation of their improvement initiatives to further support our annual improvement goals in our strategic plan, which you will recall, we gave our first annual report on that 5-year plan last meeting. The district's emergency operations plan has been updated and is ready for board approval in the closed session later this evening. I'm pleased with the growing partnership with our local law enforcement and emergency response officials as a result of the Crisis Response and Life Safety Advisory Committee, which, as you recall, was launched last August. In addition, Jerry Mitchell and I will continue to work collaboratively with the Department of Education's School Safety Initiative, specifically the GEOCOM Critical Incident Mapping Project. This involves creating an electronic app that will provide detailed pictures to all critical emergency points in each of our buildings, such as AEDs, utility shutoffs, and cameras in all of our buildings. This tool, once it is finished, will be available to local law enforcement and emergency response agencies, and it will enable them to coordinate and respond more efficiently and effectively during emergency operations. This, I will also mention, is coming to us without charge. We have several phases in the work this year, all of which you have been a part of, whether it's been the purchase of the radios, or the grants for the $50,000 for each building, or the vulnerability assessment. And in this case, the GEOCOM mapping will bring staff from GEOCOM in to map our buildings and articulate those key areas so we'll be more responsive should an emergency occur. Finally, the district office staff and school leaders are working closely with the Iowa Workforce Development to transition from the previous Teach Iowa website to the new Iowa Works online tool for filling our positions. So there's a lot going on. We're actually very, very busy in district office in the summer. Again, not quite as much fun as when the kids are in buildings, but good work nevertheless.
All right, thank you. So next, we're going to hear from Mark Wicks about the Crown City Leadership Project. Anna, are you helping with this?
I am. Mark is going to kick it off, and I'm going to be right here beside him.
Okay, and this is the presentation, or this is the project that you alluded to like months ago?
It is, and I've been working with the committee that Mark has established to further develop leadership opportunities and growth. And some might think automatically that it would be youth, but in fact, we have leadership needs at all areas in our community. So our committee has been working with Mark, and hopefully the district will be interested in joining this partnership by the end of this stellar presentation.
Way to raise the bar. Good evening. Here to share an exciting opportunity, something we're working on. It's trying to address an identified need on multiple levels we've been hearing for several years now. And that is a gap in leadership development or leadership potential. This ranges from employees having the skills and competence to manage or supervise others. We've seen this in the workforce shortage. Employers have had to elevate employees into a managerial or a leadership position where they really weren't prepared for that. Don't know how to work with people underneath them or deal with human issues or crisis resolution. We want to make for better employees for employers. We want to make employers stronger by having this leadership potential, but we're also hearing this repeatedly with our civic groups and the nonprofits. They've really seen a drop in volunteerism, people willing to step up and chair committees. People are willing to just to step up and take a role to help move the community forward. So we're seeing this on all levels. So City Council member Delaney Friesman and I attended a Iowa Leadership Boot Camp that IEDA put on. And you were very excited to hear about leadership programs other communities are doing and how they have really benefited their communities. That make feeder systems not only for the employers, but the community itself, including, people willing to step up and serve on school board, serve on city council, help with nonprofits, help with Rotary and Lions and the other civic groups. So we are creating the chamber board has agreed to spearhead a collaborative effort to create what we're calling Unleashing Leadership Potential. We're collaborating with multiple entities on this, including NIAC, UNI's Institute for Decision Making, the Small Business Development Center. We're working with Ann has been there representing the school. We've had multiple people involved with this, including a number of board members on the chamber, trying to create a program that is not only going to help people's leadership abilities, but also incentivize them, show them how things work and why and how they can make a difference. This could be anything in the community. All you got to do is go to Charles City Community Chat and you can hear everybody complaining about anything, but nobody's stepping up to do something. This is hopefully going to address what we're seeing, these leadership gaps all over the community with employers and nonprofits and so forth. We are looking at doing a 9-month program where the participants would meet one day a month. During the day, we would focus not only on personal and professional and civic leadership skills, but also the community. We want them to know Charles City. We want to know Charles City's history. We want to know where things are, what Charles City has to offer, what resources they can tap into, what they can get involved with, how they can make a difference. It's amazing how many people say, well, I didn't get involved because I didn't know how, or I didn't think I could make a difference. And you guys are already leaders. You stepped up into leadership role and anybody can step up and make a difference if they just step forward. We are trying to work with our various partners on this, which are hoping the school will consider a partnership with us as we create this program. We are looking at I lost my place here, sorry. Again, one day a month session, September through May. And we're going to work with sponsors and scholarships. So we're working with our employers to find out what exactly are they looking for in leaders, what do they need. We want to tailor this program to meet their needs, to meet your needs. We've got a whole wide range of topics and speakers we can bring in, but we want to see what our partners need and want as we craft this. We're hoping to work with a number of our major employers. We're going to have an education day where we expose class participants to not only public schools, Catholic school, Terry Lane, AEA, PLC, all levels of this. So they understand what we have, how it works, what we have to offer, and how they can make a difference with that. What we're asking the school to consider is to consider being one of our partners in this. We'd love to host the education day one, and we're looking at that in, what do we say?
Is that November?
November. We're talking education day in November right now. And we'd love to have a school panel with some board members and teachers and leaders in the school district that help talk to our classes about this. And had a great idea, have we could actually eat lunch here, incorporate the Comic Cafe if you guys are willing, to show them what Comic Cafe is about, what our kids are capable of doing. And we're also going to be discussing community volunteer options. So participants will be required to do so many hours of community service. They will get to pick and choose what they do and who they do it with. But that's one of the requirements of the program. We want this program open to anybody who's interested. Again, it could be high school seniors. It could be recent college grads. It could be new professionals who moved to town, don't know anything about the community or how to get involved with people. It could be for retirees. We forget about this. We have people who worked a job, maybe worked at home for years, and all of a sudden they've got free time. They want to get involved with something else, but they don't know how.
And they put the school.
We're not excluding anybody, including the school. So in order to make this available to anybody, we're looking at sponsors and scholarship providers to cover the cost on this. The participants would be required to have some skin in the game as far as their commitment to attend so many sessions and to do the community hours. If they fail to do that, then there'll be some payback to whoever's sponsoring them or the scholarship provider. A sponsor, we have $500 would be a sponsor. The sponsor would have a seat at the table that you can put somebody in or sponsor somebody in the community to do it. If you don't have anybody put in, then you'd be a scholarship provider and it'd be in your name to allow that person to go through the program. There are various programs all over the state, various prices range. We try to keep it as affordable as possible at 500. Waverly, for instance, is $700 a person. So they have a very similar program to this. And we're working with our speakers both locally and bringing them in statewide on various topics. We're really excited about this because we think we can instill the confidence and the skills people need to be a leader, step forward, even just a volunteer. And I consider a volunteer a leader. That's somebody who's stepping forward and offering to do something. But the biggest thing is people, if they know the community and they know how to get involved with the community, they're a lot more likely to stay in the community and invest in it. So that's why we're making the presentation. We're talking to all our major employers. We see the school as a real key partner in this. Whether it's just hosting us, we hope you would consider a sponsorship or a scholarship in your name. I understand we're dealing with public money, and that's a dicey issue here, but there's other ways you guys can also help be a partner in this. Anne's been instrumental in our committee in putting it together. I think she's gone through a leadership program too, and firsthand knows the benefit of that.
Yes, and again, all ages, all types of interest, because there's always a place where some level of leadership is needed and everyone brings something unique to the table. I would be willing, because I'm very conscientious about our public funds, that I would personally volunteer to pay the first year's enrollment of $500, not from the school district, but from myself personally. My husband and I would be happy to donate that for this purpose, should you decide to approve your partnership with it.
And one other thing I'll mention is, this is, again, we want people to see what's out there. This is a chance for you to showcase our local schools, your programs, what you have to offer, and people to understand not only what you have, how it works, and how they can help. Can I answer any questions for you?
The themes and topics are there on the blue slide. You can see everything from wellness and healthcare, local government, ag business. Our major employers are already expressing interest and partnership with it. Our civic clubs and tourism, this is where Rotary became involved, for example, entrepreneurs and media. So I think we've kind of captured each of the key areas, and then each of those 9 sessions will have some seat time, some classroom learning that will help in leadership development. So for example, awareness of your personality style and how that meshes well with others. Perhaps deeper understanding of what it means to experience second order change. How to develop effective partnerships, for example. So those will be some of the more generic type topics that could be applied in any one of these areas as far as leadership development goes. And again, we'll have some speakers that can help with that. So did you have any questions for either Mark or I?
Again, we think it's important that participants learn, how does the school board work? What's your motivation for being on there? You hear all the things, well, I didn't know this was gonna happen, and then they passed that and nobody knew about it. Well,
Right.
We all know with any governmental body, nothing happens overnight.
Right.
It's just a matter of people paying attention, but we want to show them the process and how things work. You guys are the top-notch volunteers, but we want to make other people in the community understand that they have the ability to step up and make a difference. We want to give them the confidence and the abilities to do that.
And I like the idea that it's community service hours instead of a project. Oftentimes, the leadership cohorts I've been familiar with, and they're peppered all throughout the state. They'll do a project. So, 3 or 4 people get together and you kind of look around and see what needs to be done. That can be a bit daunting in a community our size with the limited number of participants in this particular cohort. We're shooting for 10 to 20, somewhere in the sweet spot between 10 and 20. We thought with the community service, that would give folks a chance to see what does hands-on just volunteerism look like prior to thinking, wow, I could take a leadership role in Main Street Charles City, Main Street, Iowa. Maybe I could take a leadership role on the board.
And this isn't gonna be sitting in a classroom for 8 hours, having somebody.
Just a
talk
little
to
bit
you.
of seat time.
It's gonna be a little bit of seat time. We want them active, involved, and out in the community. We want to tour our various employers. We want to tour our various organizations. You know, that's why we're looking, we have a healthcare day, we have an education day, we have an ag business day. We want to get them out and about and see what's there. I don't know how many people I hear all the time, they've lived in Charles City forever, and they don't know exactly what Cambridge or Zoetis or Trelleborg does. This is an opportunity then for them to see firsthand, hear from them, hear from the employers of what they're looking for in leadership potential. We'd love to hear from your student council leaders. I mean, those are prime examples. Why did they step up and take that? What is their view? My question to the board right now is, do you feel that this is something that is needed in town? Is this something you feel there is a real need for?
Well, I feel there is, and I don't think it's just Charles City, as you said, that it's
That's-
all over Iowa. I mean, volunteerism is at a low. I read article after article about it, and I don't know why, you know, but anyway. It's
You ask 10 people, you might get 11 different answers.
Right. Yeah, I think it sounds interesting, and I agree with you that community service is less daunting than a project. And that's real hands-on, because maybe they'll find something that they're really interested in, you know, so if you get them through the door. And I think sometimes that's the hardest thing for.
It is the hardest thing.
is-
But we want to expose them to as many different things and find out, you know, what do you like? A lot of times you have no idea. It's just like going to college. How many times you change your major because you're exposed to different things?
Josh, I thought you might have a
I
question.
have a whole bunch, but I'll wait because someone can answer. So you mentioned waiver release program
Yes.
and other programs across the state. Is there any data that shows like retention of employees who go through the program, they stay longer, or they've been able to tie, you know, our business didn't think about this thing, but because this person did this mentoring program, they went and did this and we've expanded our business into this area or anything like that?
I don't have hard data on that now.
And then
It's something I can work with you and I and try to get some additional on that. But everybody agrees, the more their employees are involved in the community, the more likely it is they're gonna stay.
is there a mentor or mentee tied to this after or during?
During, as far as for the participants or for our program?
So in your example, and I'll pick Trelleborg. So let's say Trelleborg says, you know, we are having a difficult time retaining a position. So we promoted somebody within and now it's their job to, you know, rehire their position. Is there somebody that can help mentor that person as they go through that process of, you know, growth within the organization to step into that new role, to help lead a portion of it? So is
That's
that
where we're counting on the partnership with the employers and why we, you know, this isn't, we're just bringing this to you and we're gonna do that. We're gonna tour Trelleborg, which is now Yokohama,
oh,
but we're gonna tour Trelleborg and leave. No, we wanna now tour it and see what they do. We wanna hear from them. What do they offer? What do they need? And is there somebody in this group who says, hey, I can do that?
Or I can
I
help.
can make that role. I can help. The other thing is just understanding what that company does or any of our companies in town. Understand you can make good wages working here. You can make a good living at these. Again, how many people live in town who don't know exactly what Zoetis or Cambridge does? Those are really good paying jobs.
You mentioned NIAC, which part of NIAC, the academic side or continuing education side?
It's, but we're working with the Charles City NIAC staff.
Okay.
Both of them are on our committee.
Okay. Because I do know that NIAC has a really strong continuing education program and they work specifically with businesses. They might be a real good avenue.
And we're not looking at replacing any programs that they offer.
Right.
This is all supplement and exposure.
And then I guess my last question is just how's this been received in the community?
The employers we talked to and the service groups we talked to have been very, very receptive. In fact, I just heard from one of our major employers today. I talked to one major employer group. Another one contacted me after hearing this and said, I'm very excited to come meet with you this week. So
I think
it's going to, you know, it benefits them, but it benefits our community as a whole. You know, it benefits Rotary and Lions and Paws and anybody else who, when they find out this is what's going on in town, I believe in this isn't all in town. Because I think the biggest issue is getting people, like you said, in the door, get that foot in the door and find out what's there.
I was just thinking, you know, a lot of younger parents, anybody's younger than me, but younger parents are involved in coaching sports type things, you know, Little League or whatever, but as far as like volunteering in other capacities, you know, like parting with cards or, you know, whatever, it seems like I don't see as many of them doing that. you
There
know,
is, and it's,
so-
it's not just, again, Charles City, we're seeing the statewide,
Right.
talking to other groups, talking to employers, there's a real leadership gap around.
So do any of our employers in town, I know, my daughter happens to work at Principal in Des Moines.
Mhm.
And they have volunteer days. Okay, so then they have to go help somewhere, you know, and it staggers through the departments, you know, so they're not all out in the community, but do any of our employers in town do anything like
Yes.
that? It seems like they used to, right?
And some are kind of broader and other ones are kind of, they fine tune it to certain projects.
Right,
I'll just use Valero for an example. Valero's got a great outreach program. They go and do a volunteer work day every year at TLC.
oh, yeah, I guess I'm.
I know.
Kind of like our Carrie Lane students go out and clean up Carrie Lane house.
But again, this is gonna show them, again, the need that is out there too.
Mhm.
But you mentioned Little League coaches. I mean, there's a perfect example. So how does this fit in with that? When you went back to that list, one of the things was dealing with crisis, dealing with different personalities.
Mhm.
How many times are you reading in the news right now that somebody punched an umpire or somebody got into a big fight at a Little League game? I mean, that's ridiculous. I would argue it's because they didn't have the tools to deal with. It's great when things are winning. It's another thing when you got a parent screaming in your face.
Right,
Not that that ever happens to you.
not to us.
So hopefully the school will consider partnering with us on that. Very generous offer. I think it's really important you guys are a player in some degree, because I think this is just gonna have ramifications throughout. Our biggest seller, once we get through the first year, our biggest seller is gonna be the graduates from this program
Mhm.
and the word of mouth and getting it out there.
Well, I could just see like when we're trying to do partnerships like with our school-based learning or the work-based learning, that would be like a good opportunity for our teacher that's working in that area to maybe be a part of this. I mean, that's just something that popped into my head.
I'm thinking of some of our teachers that may not be as familiar with the community, and if they were out there and about, I'm thinking of retention and our visibility in the community, beyond just our school events where folks see us, but all aspects of the community to get our staff out there, to have them be seen.
There's a national group called the Independent Sector, and each year they calculate, I don't know how they do it, but they calculate the average worth or value of a volunteer. And this is nationwide. That's up to over $27 right now per hour, the average value of a volunteer. So when you take that into consideration, how much work gets done by volunteers in this community, including serving on boards such as this, $500 is a pretty good return on investment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Would you like, I've got copies of this. Would you like any of that, or does she, did you already have
We
it?
printed off the,
Perfect.
thank you.
Yep.
Any discussion on this?
It's like a really good program. And it sounds like we've got a good success, and you've edited it, and we got the right people involved. So that's great. I think we're working to improve the participation in the Charles City Leadership Development Program.
It's been moved and seconded to approve participation in the Chamber's Leadership Development Program. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Oh, 4-0, I'm sorry, I forget Janice's and.
You know, can we trust any of your votes now, Pat, if you can't count?
What? Yeah.
We can include that in part of the
I can use them.
There you go. Thanks, guys.
Okay, substitute pay. There's a sheet of paper here in front of you. About the. Different amounts around the area that substitute teachers are paid and also substitute aides are paid. What? if a substitute teacher goes into at past 10 days in the same assignment, then,
Long terms.
long-term sub, that's what.
Is this
they-
all just Charles City stuff?
This
Or
is
is this district?
down below is Charles City sub.
Like, we have 185 of attendance and
Oh.
then we have like.
I think it goes in the same order. That's
Right, so I kind of cut it off and pasted it. So this is our regular substitute teacher pay.
Yeah.
And the substitute associate in these districts. Then the long-term substitute in each of these districts looks like this. I apologize,
column
it
D.
should, yes, it is column D.
Okay, got it, over here.
So, it became very unwieldy to, manage the, $500 stipend for 30 or for 30 days. Tracking on that, making sure that people were where they were supposed to be, when they were supposed to be. We decided, gee, how about if we made this a really attractive place to come to substitute without having, because it's a human resource to track on that $500 and get a check cut and get it mailed out, and then make sure that they counted correctly and whatnot. So our thought on this was, how about we, instead of having the $500 stipend, which, as you know, dissolved here not long ago, what if we were to say instead, let's do fair pay for the good work and go from there? That was really the genesis for it. So a long-term substitute I would recommend is $200 per day. And this is, again, part of what we talked about at the finance committee. A half a day being 4 hours. $70 for a half day and $140 for a full day until they've been 10 days consecutive in the same position, because that's going to require them to create lesson plans, grade reports, participate perhaps even in conferences.
And they have to have a teaching certificate to do long-term subbing.
Yeah, so it's a little bit higher bar than just slipping in when someone's handed you the lesson plans.
And
It's
then-
a total increase of about 10%, not between 9 and 10%. The $500 was costing us about 16%, 16.6%. So this is attractive for everyone, whether they're here 30 days randomly or not, and yet it should be affordable. The ESSER money is what was paying the $500 stipends, and as you know, that's about to sunset on us. So that's not a reoccurring source of revenue.
What do you think, guys?
Can we do this as a group or do you have to do each one?
Other conditions.
Well, you can probably put them on better.
Yeah, I would think most with all three of those that presented.
Okay. We got some love seconds.
You seconded it? Josh, or you did? Josh, yeah.
Matt.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the associate substitute at pay at $14.25 per hour, teacher substitute rate of $140 a day, and half-day rate $70. And long-term teacher substitute to $200 per day after 10 days. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion passes 4-0. Handbooks.
So just before we touch on these, the reason we have so many handbooks is because we have so many different negotiating.
Buildings is more.
Yes, to that, we'll have 4 handbooks for the different negotiating groups, and we have a 10-month and a 12-month for the support staff that are confidential secretaries.
Because they have different contracts, so they're different. But overall, the content of the handbooks is very similar.
It is similar. But
The salaried versus the hourly would be much more similar from one to another. Yes.
I have one correction that I think needs to be made, and I was trying to pull up what page it was on, but there wasn't a page number.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
in
that
the-
was one of the errors on,
Yeah,
you notice these, as we PDF'd them, have our scribbles in them.
yes,
We highlighted. They came back from the AEA a little bit delayed. I did not want to wait until next month and for you to see them again in their perfect form. If you could approve them substantively and then say, with these chicken scratches that Ann and the team came up with, the AEA will be able to make those, one of which was page numbers, as you noticed.
yes. Well, in the Lincoln and the Washington handbook,
Mhm.
of course, I would notice this. They still have, Mrs. Dolman listed as the Lincoln counselor.
Really, I did not see that, and all
Yeah.
four of us went through it. I will look for that.
Yeah, it's in both of those handbooks.
Got it. I'll get that out of there.
Okay, I
Thank
just thought
you.
you would wanna,
Mrs. Dolman, get that out. Got it.
okay,
Were there any other?
I didn't
aspects?
see anything else, but that just stuck out to me because I knew it was wrong.
Mhm.
I will say I saw like an A left out or a B left out or a couple places, but
Did you, even after all of this, even after they've been approved by 5 people?
yeah, but I didn't think that was as important as the meeting, so. Okay, is there a,
Feel free to give me any other feedback on those and us. As an educational institution, we don't want to look silly. If you have any other of those small suggestions, just scribble right on your hard copy and bring them to me and I'll make sure AEA sees them.
we have a motion? Does anybody have any?
So what did you want?
To approve the 23-24 handbooks,
There was no other. thing.
well, as amended, as we've seen them amended.
As presented with Mrs. Dolman's name being taken out.
As correct.
Correct,
That
correct.
motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the 23-24 handbooks as corrected. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All right, opposed say no. 4-0.
You sure it's not five?
What?
Sure it's not five?
Okay,
Do parents get a hard copy of those handbooks or is that just all digital?
It's all digital at this point, although I do know they have hard copies in each office. And as you noticed, when you read through those, anytime we're sending things out digitally, we leave the door wide open for families who may not have access to a printer or who prefer to see things in hard copy. Contact the office and we will have one sent to you. That's always, as you ambassadors for our district, please let everyone know. We'll absolutely mail anything out in hard copy or have you pick it up. It's just, we're trying to be responsible with our resources.
this next one about the legislative priorities. If it's okay with you, can I just type in my name and discuss this survey and we can do it together? Right here. Do that. I don't think- Okay, so all of the resolutions below, it says we've broken them down into categories aligned with public policy agenda. Please select your district's legislative priorities from the list of 2023 legislative resolutions, which starts on page 13 of that thing where you can hit the legislative priorities. And if you would like to amend a resolution or propose a new resolution, you can do so on the next page. So number 5 is, we believe that literacy is the building block for student achievement and student success. All of the resolutions below would fit in this priority statement. So it'd be student achievement, preschool, early literacy, English learners, special education, and area education agencies. So we are supposed to number them in order of our preference. So student achievement, preschool, early literacy, English language learners, special education, and area education agencies. Yes, just those 5. Do any of those stick out to you as being the most important?
Student achievement is important. That covers all pre-K through 12. That'd be number 1 for me. My personal second would be preschool, because I think the foundation is very important.
So do we think all of those are important? I just
Can
can
you put
just
all of them?
mark them, yes. What? I think so too. Well, I guess I'm especially, no, we can't rank them. The area education agencies, I think, do a lot of good for all schools, and recently our state legislature cut their money. And they come out and they do things like speech therapy and help with
district
special educate things that we don't have to. We pay for it through the area education association and how we pay for them, but yet we don't have to have somebody in our building at all times for that.
We don't have to fund that.
And I guess I was pretty upset that they cut them, because not only do they come to the public school, but they go to the private schools as well. And I thought, this doesn't make any sense to me, but I don't know.
Next question.
Okay, we believe that a high quality teacher workforce is necessary for student achievement.
Correct.
So teacher recruitment and licensure, and teacher professional development and retention. I think that's all. I think we're not saying that. We believe that expanded opportunities through public schools will provide students with diverse and engaging educational experiences. So all of the resolutions below would fit into this priority statement are sharing and reorganization, which means sharing staff and reorganizing. School consolidation is a word I would use rather than reorganization. Consolidation is more, I think, transparent. Local accountability and decision-making. Do we feel that local schools should be able to make their own decisions? Public school innovation and homeschool education.
Local accountability. We'll try to pick up.
I think we have lots of everybody. We believe that student, educator, and staff mental health needs must be addressed and supported to improve student achievement, reduce dropout rates, and maintain a high-quality workforce. So all the resolutions would be dropout at risk and mental health.
We've seen, I would say, to get our graduation numbers up, throughout the session.
I agree with that. If you guys, drop out and at risk to get our graduation rates up.
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
We believe that every student deserves to learn and every staff member deserves to work in a safe and secure environment. Yes, we think that's
And we're gonna talk about that.
important. School safety, we'll talk about that later.
Yep.
We believe supplemental state aid is a critical component in student success by providing districts with adequate general fund resources. What do you think is most important of this? Supplemental state aid?
Yes.
School funding policy, property taxes, tax-based bond issues, unfunded mandates.
Well, based on what I read, supplemental state aid, we're always gonna,
We always need more money.
because we're trying to put a bond issue forward, we need to continue to advocate for bond and property taxes.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay, we believe schools must be open and welcoming to all students, and fully accountable, transparent in order to receive taxpayer dollars. So we have to decide at this point, does our board support private school choice or don't we?
I thought in the statement that opposed.
Hmm?
In this big document, that's what opposing schools.
Right, it does.
Why do they make that person consider correct?
Do we? Well, they want to have, I think if they're gonna have the voucher bill, then they want the private schools to be more accountable to the taxpayer. You know, by saying how they're spending their money.
I guess I don't want people to get involved in that. I wasn't fully understanding.
We can skip it, but I
By
feel
skip,
kind
I
of
am.
strongly about it.
Well, then you're saying you don't agree.
Does your district want to, no, we don't want to make them. Do we? There, we're done. Thank you. I could have talked about that all. Okay, the next thing is,
But do we have to approve it?
no, because we just did it, so. Okay, we're good. Oh, because it's as discussed, so. Okay, policy updates, first reading. That was a lot of policies to get through, guys.
Mhm.
How long was our meeting that day, Josh? 2 hours.
Different read for each one.
Well, we did, but we didn't read through them.
We didn't read through them, we summarized them, and where we needed to fill in numbers, we filled in numbers or filled in stuff.
Not. Controversial.
Yeah.
Seems all works.
Yeah, this stuff needs to be updated this year, this is the change, this legislative, or this law, this change, so we need to comply with it. I think that's. Dr. Humphrey's talked a little bit about it, maybe at the June meeting, maybe not, but the Des Moines Register reached out to us about law changes that happened June 30th, July 1st, and they want to make sure that we're in compliance, and so for us to be in compliance, we had to pass a couple last time, and so this is kind of the finalization of these to make sure that we're in compliance with the law changes. We're, doing what we're supposed to do. So, but it's a lot of little stuff.
Yeah, and some of them just were things that, like, they left out and we didn't have an exhibit or we didn't have a certain regulation or whatever, so we put them in. Okay.
So what do we got here? Okay, so I make a motion to,
We're on 12.
okay, so. Do I need to do first reading of policies as presented for every one of them?
No,
Okay,
But we're including A, B, and C.
we're including A, B, and C with number 12.
so I make a motion to approve the first reading of policies A, B, and C as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the first reading of policies as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. 4-0. And the next one
Make a
is,
motion to approve the second reading of policies as presented at the June 26th.
been moved and seconded to approve the second reading of policies as presented at the June 26th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Policies passed 4-0. Consideration of the consent agenda as amended.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. 4-0. And now, does anybody have any, board comments? I got Janice has 28 signatures that she needs to be, that she will be handing in. She'll get some more, she said. Trying to find her. And she also told me that, Nancy, Western is gathering signatures and Becky Meyer is, doing Como. So. And then there's probably some other ones, but has anybody else got any signatures?
I do.
You do? You do that?
Well,
Well. Okay, we need to get those in. We'd like to have them in by the end of the beginning of August, middle of August.
Well, the attorney reached out to me today and asked what our status was. I think if we can shoot for the end of July as the absolute latest, there's still some language that has to be approved and prepared. And that will allow us to move forward with the referendum informational aspect
Right.
in August and September and October.
Okay. All right, so I'm thinking we probably have 250-ish.
I would say, based on what I've just heard, 28 plus 12, and maybe a half sheet at the office that someone turned in.
And I have a half sheet.
Okay, we probably have 250,
We need 450.
445 verified.
We need 500.
And
I'd say.
if anyone has signed it that's not been verified, or they can't verify, so I was shooting more for 500 to be on the safe side.
There was an interesting article in the paper, letter to the editor from Catherine Campbell. She had ideas for us. I meant to bring it, I forgot. About how to get these signatures. Might read that.
I had somebody approach me about something we used to do. That are called board listening sessions where we develop.
Listening post.
Yeah, we haven't done one in a long time, and it probably was part of it was COVID, but that may be something to think about doing again. As you talk about this particular project.
We'd have a listening post like on a Saturday morning. We'd go like to McDonald's or Roman's or bowling alley, somewhere like that, and the board would just be there and people could come and talk to us. We also did it one night at a football game. I remember that.
I would totally encourage you to consider with that, because really our theme for the coming year, for me personally, is transparency. I think that will go a long way towards a deeper understanding of our needs, whether they be infrastructure or otherwise.
Right.
We, as you know, we hosted the SIAC meeting with the findings of our first annual findings relative to the goals in our strategic plan. And the members said, this is pretty darn good. How come we don't know? Well, people don't know more about this. So we're going to target some every week to 2 weeks. We'll be targeting with already paid for advertisement in the Charles City Press to blast some of the facts out for people to help them understand what we're doing. Again, transparency, the new Assembly product will help us with transparency. A board listening post would certainly help with transparency. I think that's going to be the secret to continuing the upward trajectory of our work.
And we even had a student listening post where the students could come and talk to us. That was online. We did that one offline. We had about 6 or 7, 8 students talk to us about different things. So, yes. I think you're right, Josh. I think we should do that again.
Just post them as a social meeting, a social gathering, and it's.
We posted it as a listening post,
Right,
a listening.
right, and so then as long as you're not making decisions, it's, no, you're interacting with people and listening, and I think that'd be really powerful.
Okay, so is there a motion to move into closed session for Iowa Code 21.51I?
Do a roll call.
I know, but is there, we have to have a motion first.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved to go into closed session for Iowa Code 21.5, and then we have to come out, right, and then go back in. Okay, for superintendent evaluation, roll call vote. Okay.
President Rodney,
Yes,
Vice President Clark,
Yes.
Dr. Trop,
Yes.
and
we'll take a 3-minute, 5-minute break for the bathroom. Get everything closed down and.
I need to close the door. Already got stuff.
Come on.
All I have to do is go out and then work on the house.